When the heart doesn't warn you. Frank stood in front of the refrigerator, barefoot on the cold kitchen tile. It was barely 6 a.m. The sun hadn't risen yet, and neither had his appetite. His hand trembled slightly as he reached for the milk. Then came that familiar flutter, a sudden pounding in his chest, quick and uneven. He paused, breathing through his mouth, hoping it would pass like it always did. Just a bad night's sleep, he mumbled to himself. But deep down, he wasn't sure anymore. For many older adults, the first sign of heart trouble isn't pain, it's a feeling. Dizziness after climbing the stairs, a racing heart while tying your shoes, waking up drenched in sweat. These aren't just random events. They're signals, whispers from a tired heart that's been carrying too much for too long. Cardiovascular disease doesn't arrive like a thunderstorm. It builds, quietly and steadily, through every overlooked salad, every skipped walk, every stress-filled night. And by the time symptoms appear, the damage has often already taken root. The numbers don't lie. Heart disease remains the leading cause of death worldwide, claiming nearly 18 million lives each year. But here's what the headlines don't tell you. You don't need a prescription to protect your heart. And in many cases, you don't need to overhaul your entire life either. Just a few simple choices, made daily, can shift your future. Nature, in all its quiet wisdom, has placed powerful allies on our plates. Fruits that not only taste good, but work inside our bodies to strengthen, to cleanse, and to protect. Frank didn't know it yet, but the avocado sitting unnoticed on his counter held more than flavor. It held a chance to soften his arteries and slow that unpredictable rhythm in his chest. This isn't about miracle cures, it's about hope, about small changes that lead to big results, about finally feeling like your body is working with you, not against you. Sometimes it's not about living longer, but waking up unafraid to take that first step. And with just a few simple foods, you can change how every morning begins. Avocado. When fat becomes your friend. Frank never thought he'd be the kind of man to eat avocado. Too fancy, he used to joke. Leave that to the Californians. But one afternoon, after his daughter dropped off a bag of groceries, he found 2 ripe avocados sitting on the kitchen counter. He didn't want to waste them, so he looked up a recipe, mashed one on a slice of whole grain toast, and added a pinch of salt. What started as a reluctant bite turned into something he began craving every morning. What Frank didn't know, what many don't, is that avocado isn't just tasty, it's a cardiovascular powerhouse. At the heart of this creamy green fruit lies oleic acid, a type of monounsaturated fat, and this fat doesn't clog your arteries, it actually helps clear them. Multiple studies have shown that eating 2 servings of avocado per week can reduce the risk of coronary heart disease by 21%. That's not a minor number. That's the kind of shift that means fewer chest flutters, fewer dizzy spells, fewer sleepless nights wondering if you'll wake up in the morning. For seniors like Frank, who deal with elevated LDL bad cholesterol, avocados are nature's quiet solution. They lower LDL while gently boosting HDL, the cholesterol that actually protects your arteries. But that's not all. Avocados are rich in potassium, even more than bananas. And potassium helps regulate blood pressure by balancing sodium levels in the body. High blood pressure is a silent threat, often going unnoticed until it triggers something serious. Blurred vision, fatigue, or worse, a heart attack. And then there's fiber. Half an avocado offers about 6 to 7 grams of it. This isn't just good for digestion. Fiber helps sweep cholesterol from the bloodstream, reduces inflammation, and supports weight control. All crucial for protecting your heart as you age. Let's not forget the antioxidants. Vitamin C, vitamin E, lutein, and zeaxanthin. These compounds act like bodyguards inside your blood vessels, protecting them from oxidative damage and inflammation, 2 of the root causes of heart disease. For Linda, 68, who struggles with high cholesterol but can't tolerate statin medications, avocados became her go-to. I spread it on toast, blend it into my smoothies, even mix it with lemon as a dip, she says. It made me feel like I had options again, like I didn't have to choose between food and fear. This is the real beauty of avocados. They're not a drug. They don't need a prescription. But they offer something just as powerful, relief. The kind you can feel, not just in your chest, but in your confidence. Cutting into an avocado isn't just preparing a meal, it's protecting your future. Apple, the fruit that keeps you in control. It was always the same moment, right after breakfast, when Uncle Ray would feel it, that tight, pressing sensation right beneath his collarbone. It wasn't painful, just unsettling. Like his body was whispering a warning he couldn't quite understand. He'd place a hand on his chest, take a deep breath, and sit still. Waiting, hoping it would pass, and it usually did. But every time it happened, the same thought echoed in his mind. What if this time it doesn't stop? That fear, that quiet, unspoken fear, lives in so many older adults, especially those who live alone. For Uncle Ray, the shift began with a story his neighbor told him about the power of apples. Not supplements, not medications, just apples. At first, he rolled his eyes. How could something that simple make any real difference? But then he learned the why. Inside every apple is a type of soluble fiber called pectin. It's not the kind you notice. It doesn't change the flavor or texture. But once it reaches your digestive system, it begins a process that matters more than most pills. Pectin binds to LDL cholesterol, the bad kind, and helps flush it out of your body. That means fewer blockages, less plaque buildup in your arteries, and a lower risk of heart attack and stroke. But apples do more than lower cholesterol. They're packed with polyphenols, plant compounds that reduce inflammation, protect your blood vessels, and even help regulate blood pressure. One of the most studied is quercetin, which works like a natural anti-inflammatory. For seniors with stiff joints, tired hearts, and rising blood pressure, that's a game changer. And unlike processed foods or complicated regimens, apples are simple. You don't need a recipe. You don't need to cook. Just rinse, slice, and enjoy. Uncle Ray started with 1 apple a day. Always in the afternoon, always with a handful of walnuts. After 2 weeks, the tightness in his chest showed up less. After a month, his doctor told him his cholesterol had improved. And by the 3rd month, Ray had a new routine. 1 apple, 1 walk, 1 small promise to himself each day. For him, the apple wasn't just a fruit. It was a signal, a way to say, I still care about this body. I still believe in tomorrow. Linda, his neighbor, eats her apple differently. She bakes slices with a dash of cinnamon and a drizzle of honey. It tastes like dessert, she laughs, but it works like medicine. That's the quiet power of this humble fruit. It doesn't shout, it doesn't need headlines, but it delivers something we all want as we grow older. A little more control, a little more steadiness, a little more peace. So the next time your hand reaches for a snack, remember this: an apple a day isn't just about avoiding the doctor. It's about choosing strength over fear. Berries, tiny jewels that strengthen every heartbeat. Margaret used to avoid walking up the stairs in her own house. Not because her legs were weak, but because her heart felt like it couldn't keep up. 2 flights were all it took to leave her breathless, gripping the rail, waiting for her pulse to slow down. She didn't tell her kids. She didn't want to worry anyone. But deep down, she wondered if this was just part of getting older. A heart that couldn't be trusted anymore. Then one day, at her local farmer's market, she passed a table overflowing with blueberries and blackberries. A friendly vendor, maybe her age, maybe older, handed her a sample and said, "Sweet but stronger than they look." He was right. Berries may be small, but inside them is a powerful cocktail of heart-protective nutrients, especially a group of antioxidants called anthocyanins. These compounds are what give berries their rich, vibrant colors: deep blue, bright red, purple, black, and their power to fight back against the things that slowly wear our hearts down. Here's what anthocyanins do. They relax blood vessels, allowing blood to flow more freely. They reduce blood pressure, especially in people over 60. They prevent LDL, bad cholesterol, from oxidizing, a key trigger in artery damage. And they support the endothelium, the inner lining of your blood vessels, which is crucial for proper circulation and healthy heart rhythm. Margaret didn't understand all the science. But what she did notice, after just 3 weeks of adding berries to her breakfast every other day, the stairs felt different. Her heart still worked, but it wasn't panicked. It wasn't gasping. I felt like I had a little more room inside my chest, she said. Like my body wasn't fighting me all the time. And that's not just in her head. Clinical research shows that eating 3 servings of berries per week can significantly lower the risk of heart attack, especially in older adults. They also improve nitric oxide production, which helps blood vessels expand and contract as needed, like tuning an old radio until the signal comes in clear. Uncle Ray adds frozen raspberries to his oatmeal. Linda stirs blueberries into plain yogurt for her evening snack. Frank, he keeps a bag of mixed berries in the freezer, tosses a handful into his smoothie every morning. It doesn't take much. No pills, no planning, just a handful of color to protect what matters most. And perhaps that's the beauty of berries. They don't just sweeten your food. They soften your mornings. They bring calm to a heart that has worked hard for decades. So the next time your heart feels unpredictable, remember this. Sometimes the strongest medicine fits in the palm of your hand. Kiwi, the fruit that calms your heartbeat. Tom never used to worry about going to bed, but lately the nights had become unpredictable. Sometimes he'd wake up at 2 a.m., heart racing, sheets damp with sweat, eyes wide open in the dark. Other times it was the pounding in his chest that kept him from falling asleep at all. No pain, no warning, just that awful feeling like something inside him had spun out of control. He kept a bottle of aspirin on his nightstand, just in case. But deep down, he hated the idea that his own heart had become a stranger. Then one morning, while reading the newspaper, a headline caught his eye. The kiwi fruit may help reduce blood pressure naturally. He laughed. That little fuzzy thing? But curiosity won. He bought a few on his next trip to the grocery store. Within 2 weeks of eating 2 kiwis a day, something unexpected happened. Tom's nights grew quieter. His heart still beat, but no longer pounded, and the fear began to fade. What's inside a kiwi that makes it so powerful? First, there's vitamin C, and a lot of it. Just one kiwi provides over 70% of your daily needs, acting as a strong antioxidant to protect your blood vessels from damage. Then there's lutein, the same compound found in dark leafy greens, which has been shown to help lower blood pressure and support healthy circulation. Researchers at Oslo University Hospital found that people who ate 3 kiwis a day experienced a significant drop in blood pressure, more than those who ate an apple a day. Kiwi also contains potassium, which balances out sodium in the body, crucial for older adults struggling with fluid retention or tension in the arteries. And finally, it influences platelet activity. That means it may reduce the risk of dangerous blood clots, without thinning your blood like medication might. Tom doesn't pretend kiwi is a miracle, but he knows this. Since adding it to his evening snack, usually sliced over plain yogurt, he no longer wakes up gasping. He hasn't touched that aspirin bottle in over a month. For him, kiwi became more than a fruit. It became a signal of peace. Margaret likes her kiwi blended into smoothies. Linda adds slices to her morning cereal. Uncle Ray, he just eats them plain, skin and all. Saves time, he says with a wink. That's the thing about kiwi. It doesn't require prep. It doesn't need sugar or cooking. It just works. And when you've lived long enough to know the warning signs, you also learn to appreciate the quiet victories, like a steady heartbeat at night or a morning without dizziness. So if your nights feel restless, if your chest feels like it's racing ahead of you, remember, you don't need a prescription. Sometimes you just need a kiwi. Pear, the gentle fruit that guards your heart. Doris never liked strong flavors. She didn't care much for spice or crunch. She liked things soft, easy to chew, easy to swallow, gentle on the body. Just like her, quiet, kind, and often overlooked. So when her doctor told her she had high blood pressure and rising blood sugar, Doris felt defeated. She wasn't eating fast food. She wasn't a smoker. She thought she was doing everything right. What else am I supposed to give up? She whispered to herself one night, staring at a bland plate of steamed vegetables. But then, during a phone call with her granddaughter, something changed. Grandma, you ever try putting pears in your oatmeal? No, Doris chuckled. I didn't even know that was a thing. The next morning, she sliced a ripe pear into her bowl. The taste, soft, sweet, familiar. But the effects went deeper. What Doris didn't know yet is that pears are more than comforting. They are quietly powerful. Each pear contains soluble fiber, the kind that traps LDL cholesterol in the digestive system and gently removes it from the body. That means fewer artery blockages, better blood flow, and a reduced risk of heart attack and stroke. But pears also offer something else. Flavonoids, natural plant compounds with anti-inflammatory and antioxidant properties. One of the most potent flavonoids in pears is quercetin. Yes, the same one found in apples, which helps relax blood vessels, lower blood pressure, and reduce arterial stiffness. And for those living with diabetes or insulin resistance, pears have a low glycemic index. They release sugars slowly, helping to keep blood sugar levels stable. That's crucial, because uncontrolled blood sugar is one of the biggest threats to heart health after age 60. Doris began adding pears to her meals 3 times a week, sometimes raw, sometimes poached with cinnamon, and slowly her numbers improved. But more importantly, so did her energy. She didn't need to nap after lunch anymore. She could walk to her mailbox and back without feeling lightheaded, and for the first time in years, she felt safe in her own body again. Pear became more than a fruit. It became a ritual, a gentle reminder that small things still make a difference. Uncle Ray says pears remind him of autumn walks through the orchard. Linda loves baking them with nutmeg and sharing them with neighbors. Frank adds slices to his salad for a bit of sweetness. And here's a secret most people don't know. The skin of the pear holds most of the nutrients. So don't peel it, eat it whole. Let it work its quiet magic. Fiber, antioxidants, minerals, all wrapped in a soft, delicious bite. Because in a world that often praises the bold and the loud, the pear teaches us something powerful. Strength doesn't always roar. Sometimes it simply melts in your mouth. Papaya, the tropical cleanser for a tired heart. John had always been a morning person. Even at 75, he liked waking before the sun, opening the curtains, and sitting at the kitchen table with his newspaper and tea. But lately, mornings had become heavier. Not because of sleep, not because of age, because of the silent pressure behind his ribs. Not pain, exactly, but a quiet tightness that never fully went away. His doctor mentioned plaque buildup, talked about statins, suggested watching his numbers. But John had a different plan. He remembered something from his younger days in Florida, his grandmother slicing papaya for breakfast. She used to say it cleaned you from the inside out, he chuckled. So he gave it a try. Half a papaya every morning. No sugar, no pills, just the fruit. After 3 weeks, John noticed something subtle but powerful. He didn't feel the pressure anymore. He didn't need to sit down after walking to the end of the driveway. And most surprising of all, he felt light. Not in weight, but in spirit. What changed? Papaya isn't just a tropical treat. It's a heart-supporting powerhouse, packed with vitamin C, far more than what you get from an orange. It strengthens blood vessels, reduces inflammation, and supports immune health. Beta-carotene and lycopene, 2 antioxidants that protect cells from oxidative stress, a major driver of heart disease and arterial damage. Soluble fiber, which helps lower LDL cholesterol and encourages healthy digestion, reducing the burden on the heart. And potassium, essential for controlling blood pressure and balancing fluids in the body. But what makes papaya truly unique is its enzyme content, especially when fermented. Studies have shown that fermented papaya can dramatically reduce markers of oxidative stress, improve cholesterol ratios, and support vascular function, all without any pharmaceutical intervention. Linda, who used to suffer from tightness in her chest after dinner, now ends every evening with a bowl of chilled papaya and a squeeze of lime. It's like dessert, she says, only it helps me sleep. Uncle Ray freezes his papaya cubes and adds them to smoothies. Doris mixes it with a bit of Greek yogurt and crushed walnuts. And John? He eats it just like his grandmother did, with a spoon straight from the skin. No prep, no prescriptions, just peace. It's easy to forget that our blood vessels, like our thoughts, get clogged. Not always from fat or sugar, but from stress, from age, from years of wear and tear. Papaya doesn't just clean the digestive tract. It helps sweep away what no longer serves the heart. Gently, consistently, without side effects. And maybe that's why this fruit feels so special. Because in every bright orange bite is the feeling we're all chasing. The chance to feel new again. Guava, the humble fruit that outperforms expectations. Shirley never planned to add guava to her diet. To her, it was an exotic fruit, something you might see on vacation or in a fancy smoothie ad. But not in a quiet kitchen in Ohio. Not in her world of tea kettles, wool socks, and slow mornings. Then came the fall scare. She stood up from the couch too quickly and nearly fainted. Her heart raced, her vision blurred. She grabbed the wall and sat down, breath shallow, hands trembling. That night, she didn't sleep because something had changed, and she no longer trusted her own body. The next day, at her doctor's visit, the results were clear. Her blood pressure was dangerously high. Her cholesterol, too. They offered medications, but Shirley asked, "Can I try food first?" She went home with a list, and at the top of that list was a word she hadn't thought about in years. Guava. And so began the quiet return. Within 2 weeks, Shirley was eating guava every day, sometimes sliced, sometimes blended into her morning yogurt. And over the next month, the numbers began to shift. What makes guava so special? This small, pink-fleshed fruit contains more vitamin C than oranges, more potassium than bananas, and more soluble fiber than apples. It's as if nature packed an entire heart protection kit into one humble fruit. Vitamin C fights inflammation and strengthens blood vessels. Soluble fiber helps sweep out LDL cholesterol, reducing plaque buildup in the arteries. Potassium supports healthy blood pressure by balancing sodium and easing tension in vessel walls. And together, these compounds work to restore vascular flexibility, one of the first things we lose with age. In one study, participants who ate guava daily before meals experienced a significant drop in both systolic and diastolic blood pressure, along with improved cholesterol levels, all without medication. Shirley didn't know the science, she only knew how she felt, and what she felt was safe again. No more dizzy mornings, no more fear when walking to the mailbox, just quiet confidence and a bowl of sliced guava on the kitchen table. Frank now adds guava to his fruit salad. Linda pairs it with cottage cheese and mint. Uncle Ray eats it like an apple, biting right in, seeds and all. Guava may not look like much, but inside it holds everything a tired heart needs to feel young again. And maybe that's the lesson. Don't overlook the quiet ones, because sometimes the smallest fruit carries the biggest promise. So the next time your chest feels tight, the next time your heartbeat skips without warning, remember Shirley, and remember this. No prescriptions needed, just guava. Linda doesn't take sleeping pills anymore. She used to. Every night at 9 p.m. sharp, she'd place a little white tablet on her tongue, chase it with a sip of warm water, and pray for rest. But rest never came easy, because beneath the sleepiness was a quiet dread, a heart that thudded too fast, a body that didn't feel like hers anymore. Then one evening, she made a small bowl of salad, just papaya, pear slices, and a few cubes of avocado. Nothing fancy, no expectations. That night, she slept. Deep. Peaceful. Like her body finally felt safe. Since then, she's eaten her little fruit bowl every evening, and she hasn't touched a pill in over 2 months. This story isn't about fruits, it's about something much deeper. It's about getting your breath back halfway through the stairs, about waking up without scanning your body for warning signs, about feeling in control, even as the years pile on. Each fruit we've explored in this journey isn't just food. It's a gesture of self-respect. A message to your heart that says, I still care. I still believe in better days. You don't need complicated diets. You don't need more pills. You just need consistency and a little faith in nature. So now it's your turn. Let's talk about your story. Type 1 if you've ever woken up in the middle of the night because of leg cramps or a racing heartbeat. Type 2 if you've ever hesitated for a moment before stepping outside, afraid of falling or feeling dizzy. Type 3 if you're currently looking for natural, no medication ways to manage blood pressure, cholesterol, or improve your sleep. Your comment might help someone else feel seen. And if this video gave you even one new idea, one moment of hope, give it a like, share it with someone you love. Because sometimes all it takes is a bowl of fruit to change a life.